morning from the second age of reason. I'm here to talk to you about people and plants. Not necessarily about, this stuff, goldenrod. I'm talking about another plant that has been with humans for a couple of hundred years, something known as tobacco. And there's a lot of strong feelings on this subject. There are them that smoke it, there are them that chew it, there are them that sniff it, there are them that grow it, and them that sell it. But I thought I would just bring up that once upon a time, tobacco was almost sort of a religious plant, that the natives here used it to have what they call a peace pipe, smoke offering. In the Christian world, we'd call it communion, something you have together and remember things together and do things together. And that was the purpose of it. And now, in our modern age, they've come to say that tobacco is bad. It gives you cancer, emphysema, and all manner of illnesses. And that may be true, depending if you're using it in excess or moderation. What I want to mention, though, is the thing that bothers me is the way people that use it are being put down as almost a sort of a subclass, a subhuman type of person who is addicted to the tobacco thing. And they've made more and more areas tobacco forbidden. And this here seems to me to be a bit excessive in some regards, because people who smoke tobacco usually smoke it for years. In other words, it takes a long time for the damage to accrue, when there are so many other things that causes swift and immediate damage. Things like alcohol, for example. Not only could it kill you from direct overconsumption, but it could kill you as a direct result of somebody driving after consuming it, whether it's the driver who consumed or the victim who was in the way of that driver. So I think alcohol is probably a more dangerous substance. And there are other drugs. There are drugs that you see advertised on television all the time. Whenever they do, they give you the disclaimers of this drug can cause this or that, the other thing, and you think those things are worse than the thing it's trying to cure. And so that just makes me a little bit leery of that. There are those who would tell you that they think that smoking and tobacco is a sin. And I would just like to know, like say in the Bible, where does it say that? It does say wine is a mocker and strong drink is raging, and whoso is deceived thereby is not wise. That seems to condemn alcohol, but I don't see anything about tobacco or smoking. Some people will say, well, it's because your body is a temple. And I just want to remind you that the area where that comes from is in regards to prostitution. And sexual problems. That's not having to do with consumption of things. So, I just want to bring that up, because I think a lot of people believe there's something written in the scriptures about smoking tobacco. There was something written about, they think about magic. Simon the sorcerer had asked the apostles for how to get their skills. And the interesting thing that sorcery is condemned, you have to look at the origin of that word, sorcery, because it's interesting, because what the apostles were doing is healing. And basically they were healing for free. And Simon the sorcerer wanted to learn those skills so that he could make a profit so that he could make money. And he was seriously condemned by that, for that, asking for that sort of thing that he wanted to learn, that sorcery. And because if you look at the word sorcery in the Bible, it comes out to something like pharmacopoeia, meaning like drugs and medicines. So that's what he wanted to learn, was their medical clinical practice. So that is something you have to bear in mind. What was the motivation, and where did that word sorcery actually come from? It wasn't about magical powers necessarily. It was about healing, and what was the motivation for the healing. There is the problem, though, still, of alcohol and now tobacco. Tobacco is being seriously taxed as well. So if people were to suddenly quit smoking, all that tax revenue would not be coming into the government. So what would that imply? Would they then have to turn to some other thing to tax to make up the difference? So there's a lot of conflicting things here. And smokers are looked down upon. They want them to become free of that addiction. And they offer all kinds of drugs, pharmacopoeia, sorceries to overcome that habit. So I just wonder if the cure sometimes is worse than the problem. Just putting that forward. I myself do not smoke. I don't like the smell of smoke. But what I don't like also is how society is going after simple things, simple liberties, and taking them away from people, and taxing people, and making people seem like they are somehow inferior because of it. That's all for now. Be safe. Just a passing thought on the tobacco and cigarette thing. You know, they just are looking out for your health, right? People I've talked to said that cigarettes nowadays taste stale. That's not that the cigarette is necessarily old or expired or stale, but they've put something in the cigarettes they didn't want to put on the ingredients list. It's called fire safe. It prevents you from starting yourself on fire with a cigarette. It prevents you from starting your Davenport on fire, your house on fire, or the forest on fire. It's for your safety, because you know they care about your health. So he put this on there, and it means the cigarettes go out after you don't pay enough attention to them. And that's kind of nice, because now you won't be dying in tobacco flames. The other thing is, to help you quit, it goes on so you get frustrated, maybe not smoke them. Or you just have to buy more cigarette lighters and keep lighting them up. On the other flip side, a cigarette goes out when it's only half done. It's saved more for later for you to use. Isn't that healthy? And the other interesting thing is that you can keep the cigarette going if you keep puffing it harder and harder. Isn't that sound good? That'll help you quit for sure, won't it? They're just thinking about your health, you know. After all, you've seen how hard Washington is working on the health care plan these days. Something to think about and enjoy. That's all for now, folks. Bye-bye.